Did you know that even native English speakers make very common mistakes that can change the meaning of a sentence completely? And sometimes we actually understand what each other is saying, so it's sort of okay, but nah, it's not really okay. You can't always depend on that. And the interesting thing is, though, English is full of tricky grammar rules and words that can trip up anyone, even experienced learners like yourselves or native speakers at times. And today we're going to go into it. I'm going to show you how to avoid 10 sneaky English mistakes right now, today. Welcome to Mastering English Communication. We're going to dive right into it. Get your pad, get your pencil, and let's get us started. All right, so let's start with something that's very common. And once again, it's common for English learners up to a point, and it's also common at times for a native speaker, mixing up there, there, and there, or they are. All right. So these three words actually sound identical. I tried to make the last one sound a little different, but they all three of them are there, and there. Right? But they have completely different meanings and uses in written English as well as spoken English. So mixing them up is one of the most common errors even native speakers make. But understanding the distinct purpose of each can help you avoid this confusion. So there, T-H-E-I-R, shows possession. For example, their car means the car belongs to them. Their, T-H-E-R-E, refers to a place. For example, put the book over there. And then lastly, there, short for they are. For example, they're coming tonight. They are coming tonight. So clearly, the only way to understand what these mean is in context. And if you're wondering why I have a word in the middle that I did not define, these are homophones. These are words that sound the same but are spelled differently and have different meanings. So this next pair of homophones causes confusion because they sound identical as well, but serve completely different grammatical functions. So mastering the difference between these two words will immediately improve your written English as well as your spoken English. So let's first start with your. This shows possession. For example, your book means the book belongs to you. This is a possessive adjective and it indicates ownership or association with the person being addressed. Next, we have your, short for you are. For example, you're going to love this. So a quick tip is to read your as you are to check if it makes sense in your sentence. So there's no problem as an English learner reading it as it should, as it's meant to be read, which is you are, but we use what's called a contraction. That's why we say your. I would advise, unless you're very far along as a native speaker, that you also do the same, just to double check. Next, misusing its and its. So it's without the apostrophe shows possession. The cat chased its tail. This is the possessive form of it and never takes, let me repeat, never takes an apostrophe. It's with an apostrophe is short for it is or it has. For example, it's a nice day. And the simple trick is to see if it is fits. If it does, use its with an apostrophe. Now, if you're finding this information useful so far, please give us a like. Thank you. Now we're going to switch gears and go into incorrect subject-verb agreement. So your subject and verb must match in number. Watch out especially for singular nouns needing an S on the verb in the present tense. This rule seems simple, but can become tricky with complex subjects or when other words come between the subject and verb. Paying attention to whether your subject is singular or plural will help you choose the correct verb form every time. So let's take a look at the correct form. The cat chases mice. The incorrect form, the cat chased mice. Notice the difference. The correct form, she walks to school. Incorrect, she walked to school. Correct form, they run every day. Incorrect, they runs every day. Now remember what I told you. Your subject and verb must match in number. Watch out especially for singular nouns needing an S on the verb in the present tense. And oh, by the way, just because you've been taught this and you know the correct or the incorrect way, if you hear a native speaker use it incorrectly, well, you don't have to correct them, but make sure you don't think it's correct when it's incorrect, right? You just continue to speak correctly. Next up, we have something we call writing run-on sentences. So don't be confused by the term run-on. They're not actually physically running. But when we say run-on sentences in English, we're talking about sentences that contain too many ideas without proper punctuation. So you want to break longer thoughts into shorter sentences, and this will help you in writing clear and easy to follow sentences. You can also use conjunctions like and, but, or so with proper punctuation to connect related ideas. So let me show you. Here's an example of a run-on sentence. I went to the store and I bought milk and I saw my friend. That's a run-on sentence. Now, if you use commas, I went to the store, I bought milk, and I saw my friend. That is not a run-on sentence because you have proper punctuation. And of course, you can have separate sentences. I went to the store, I bought milk, I saw my friend. Number one, incorrect. Number two, using commas. Number three, separate sentences. So number 2 and 3 are correct. But remember something. Even if you hear a native speaker speak and it sort of sounds like it's run on, when you speak correctly. Stay in practice. Do not assume because someone who is a native speaker is speaking a certain way, when you know you've been taught something different that is correct, you continue to speak that way. Using double negatives. So in standard English, two negatives cancel each other out, creating a positive meaning. This can lead to confusion when the intended meaning is negative. So languages differ in how they handle multiple negatives, which makes this rule particularly challenging for non-native English speakers. Remember, just because a native English speaker like myself makes it look easy, I've been doing it my whole life. So that's why it's easy. And the same thing for you and your language. When something is difficult for us as learners, you don't really understand why it's difficult sometimes. It's because you've been doing it your whole life. So let's take a look at using double negatives. Incorrect. I don't know nothing actually means you do know something. See, that's why it's incorrect. And you will hear native speakers say this, right? And they actually mean that they don't know anything, which is the correct word. But they're saying, I don't know nothing. Because I am a native speaker, I actually understand what they're saying, but they're incorrect in how they're using the language, whether it is written or spoken. So remember, using one negative word is enough to express a negative idea. So let's go back one more time. Incorrect. I don't know nothing. This actually means you do know something. Correct. I don't know anything. Clearly expresses that you know nothing. So remember, one negative word is enough to express a negative idea. Misusing commas. Right? Commas separate items in a list and clauses in a sentence. Too many commas can interrupt the flow of your sentence, while too few can make it confusing. Remember the run-on sentence? There you go. So learning proper comma usage is essential for clear professional writing. And I'm going to give you just a short reminder of that here. So if you're in a list, I had eggs, comma, toast, comma, and orange juice for breakfast. This is a correct sentence. You're giving a list of what you had for breakfast. Natural pauses. After finishing work, I went to the gym. I just put a natural pause in there. After finishing work, I went to the gym. Common errors. I had eggs, toast, and orange juice for breakfast. Too many commas. I had eggs, toast, and orange juice for breakfast. But the correct is above. I had eggs, toast, and orange juice for breakfast. And orange juice are together. There's no comma between those two. And then in terms of clauses, joining clauses. I love coffee, but my friends prefer tea. I love coffee, but my friend prefers tea. Right. So there you go. You're joining a clause. That's okay. Hey, I love coffee, but my friend prefers tea. So that is actually correct right there. Misplacing modifiers. So a modifier should be placed next to what it's describing. So that is the secret right there. When modifiers are misplaced, they can create confusion or unintentionally humorous sentences. Paying attention to what your modifiers are actually describing will help you avoid this common mistake. So let's look at the example. Walking down the street, I saw my friend. This is a very clear meaning. You were walking down the street and you saw your friend. Dangling modifier. Running late, the bus was missed. Yes, I would know what you're saying, but it's incorrect whether it's spoken or written because it doesn't clearly state who was running late. But if we're talking, yeah, I understand you. But once again, it's poor grammar, poor practice. You won't speak correctly. And then unclear meaning. I saw my friend walking down the street. Now, this sounds like that you saw your friend or your friend was walking. When the clear meaning, what you really meant was walking down the street, I saw my friend. That's the importance of the comma here in helping you make the sentence make sense and be clear. Mixing up affect and effect. Very common for English speakers to make this mistake, unfortunately. So unless someone is used to writing and they're well grounded in English, in other words, they paid attention in English class, right? We have to study our own language, of course, like everyone else. They will probably get these mixed up. These two words are commonly confused because they sound similar and have related meanings. But I actually make a point of saying affect versus effect. So affect is usually a verb meaning to influence something, while effect is typically a noun referring to the result of an action. When in doubt, think about whether you need a verb or a noun. So let's take a look at the example. Affect equals action, typically a verb. Effect equals the end result, typically a noun. Examples: the rain will affect the crop. That's a verb, affect the crop. Versus the effect of the rain was bad. Here, effect is a noun. Overusing the passive voice. While not always wrong, using passive voice too much can weaken your writing, which means it's weakening your message. Active voice typically creates a more engaging, direct, and concise, or sentences that get to the meaning very quickly and very clearly. So using passive voice strategically when the doer of the action is unknown, right? So let me repeat that. Use passive voice strategically when the doer of the action is unknown or less important than the recipient. So let's go here. Passive voice. The ball was thrown. The subject receives action. Active voice. John threw the ball. The subject performs the action. See the difference? Passive voice. The new policy was announced yesterday. The manager announced the new policy yesterday. See the difference? Much more active, engaging. Mistakes were made during the project. Passive, not necessarily clear. We made mistakes during the project is very clear. The passive voice often sounds less direct and can hide who performed the action. The active voice is usually clearer and more direct, and it creates stronger writing. So once again, the passive voice often sounds less direct and can hide who performed the action. The active voice is usually clearer, more direct, and creates stronger writing. Key takeaways for English improvement or to have better English. Learn the differences. So come back and visit this video lesson. Take notes. I have these slides made up in a way that is easy for you to come and study. Learn the differences. Understand the distinctions between commonly confused words like there, and it's. Check your grammar. Ensure subject-verb agreement and proper modifier placement in your sentences. Improve your style. Avoid run-on sentences, double negatives, and overuse of passive voice for clear communication. Practice regularly. Even native speakers make mistakes, so don't stress if you find them tricky. Keep practicing. And also, I hope you enjoyed the session. Give us a like, share, subscribe. Please leave a comment. It helps us help you. And I will see you next time as we continue our linguistic adventure. together. Take care, everyone.